The 2013 Auto Club 400 at the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California is typically remembered for this.
I'm gonna bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And this. There was a whole lot more happening at the track that day. I should know, I was there. And I'll tell you what it was like on pit road in the media center and more specifically at the hospital that night. Yeah, things got really wild in Southern California. I'm Alan Bailey, and today we take a look back at the 2013 Auto Club 400. The race weekend felt like pretty much every other race weekend at Auto Club Speedway. You had a lot of, frankly, big Joey Logano had left his ride at Joe Gibbs Racing for Team Penske in the number 22 car. And a lot of people questioned the move at the time, but as the race would develop, we would very much see why.
11 laps complete in the Auto Club 400 presented on Fox by Coca-Cola. And side by side you saw the lead change as Kyle Busch passed his teammate Matt Kenseth. Denny Hamlin, the pole sitter, the third Joe Gibbs Toyota, has slipped to fourth, 3.5 seconds off pace.
Meanwhile, a few laps later, the 11 and the 22 were already going at it, playing mind games. These drivers were not happy with each other coming into this race due to other issues, and Logano definitely was playing the mind games.
This is the way you let a guy know that you're not happy with him. You hit the nail. This is what I used to do. You aggravate a guy. You just do everything you can to say, is he going to hit me or not? I think he scraped him right there.
That couldn't have got much closer.
And that's the doubt you want Denny Hamlin to have in his mind. Kind of like Clint Eastwood standing over, you know?
And at a racetrack where you're going over 200 miles per hour off in a corner.
And know it just takes a little touch to send you sailing.
I mean, was that 6 shots or 5?
Yeah, that's right. Have I fired 5 or have I fired 6?
Fast forward to lap 37, first caution of the race. Auto Club typically known for long green flag runs, but it would be an engine issue in the number 32 for Timmy Hill that would bring out the first caution. But it would set up some drama because Hill would kaboom on the high side coming out of 2, put oil down. Inevitably, some of our leaders would go through that oil, Kenseth and several others getting into the wall, including the defending champ, the 2 car, getting into the wall. Several drivers through the field being affected by the oil that was coming down by this car.
And they hit that oil, and they didn't have any idea that it was there.
Casey Kane trying to win back-to-back races for the first time in his career. So is it a matter of where you were, wrong place, wrong time? Why could people at home say, hey, just steer away from it?
Yeah, they were running 200 miles an hour, by the way, when they got near that area, and the oil was up high right where some of the guys' grooves were.
On the restart, we would see that same aggression and why this track in the early 2010s was known for phenomenal racing. You had 4 or 5 wide racing, 4 or 5 deep. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And oh, by the way, all of this is happening at 200 miles an hour down a very bumpy back straightaway.
He comes like a rocket out of turn 2.
He's got to run down that back straightaway. Well, we've watched Joey Logano all weekend long, and he has been fast. But I tell you, Kevin Harvick at 29, he's wanting a little bit of this action.
Logano trying to become the 3rd driver to lead under the green flag today. It's a dead heat as they come off turn 4. It's Busch at the line.
One of the issues that Auto Club Speedway is known for is trash on the grill, and we would see that on lap 43 as Casey Kane in the number 5 Farmer Insurance Chevy for Rick Hendrick would get an entire windshield tear off right across his nose. And you can see on this replay, it just 100% covered everything. It blows me away that this is constantly an issue out at the Speedway, but it always has been a problem to the point where the Speedway stopped giving out napkins at the concession stand simply because they would end up on track. This race at Auto Club Speedway definitely stands out from the rest because we saw multiple cautions for multiple reasons. Normally, you don't get any cautions at Auto Club because it's so widespread, but due to tires going down, engines going kaboom, we saw multiple cautions that would bunch the field up and keep things super competitive, especially in the closing laps. The restart on lap 174 would be a preview of what would come later on in the race, setting up the drama.
Here comes Logano up the middle.
Boy, Harvick is not going, I mean, he's going nowhere.
Logano went up in the middle because he got a shot and a push from his teammate Brad Keselowski in that too.
Yeah, Harvick just did not go.
And who's flying around the outside? Is that Stewart?
That's Stewart up high.
To third.
Stewart would gain a significant amount of ground on that restart, and that would set up the drama coming later on in the race. But first, another caution. Lap 176, Mark Martin would unfortunately get into the wall coming off a 2, and unfortunately collect the 38 of David Gilliland. That would send Mark spinning down the back straightaway, but Mark kept it off the wall, Gilliland not so much with that damage to the tire. Restart on lap 181.
There goes Stewart to the bottom. And into Kane.
Look at the run. Joey Logano's getting on the high side, but he'll have to fall back in behind Kyle Busch.
Yeah, he didn't quite have the momentum. He was almost there, Joey Logano.
And you knew Kyle wasn't going to give him the top of the racetrack.
That was a pretty good mirror driving by Kyle Busch.
A restart with 19 to go would show that Tony Stewart not only had a good car, but had the restart gear in that thing, and clearly was one of the cars you had to beat in order to get the victory out in Southern California. At this point, I had walked down from the stands on top of pit road, through the media center and out onto pit road, and was effectively watching the race on my scanner, basically, with everybody around us listening to the radio broadcast, watching on our phones or our devices, and getting ready to head into victory lane to inevitably interview the winner of the race, whomever that would be. But a caution would change everything.
Clint Boyer was 10th in his Toyota. And smoke-filled interior of his car. There's the shot from in the car as Clint moves around to climb out.
He's in there somewhere.
He's out of there somewhere.
A cloud of smoke.
Clint Boyer's engine would go kaboom with a handful of laps to go, setting up a restart with 11 laps to go. That would set up one of the most dramatic finishes that I have ever seen. And this restart would cause drama between Joey Logano and Tony Stewart that would inevitably boil over.
Logano down to block Stewart. Stewart trying to get further underneath him. Can't. What a land rush into turn one.
Hey, that 78 may come out on top if he can get up off of 2. Couldn't quite pull it off.
That's if they all get off turn 2.
Whoa, tight off of that corner.
Boy, Joey Logano, he did not give Kyle Busch much room. There comes Kurt Busch down to the bottom on the back.
And that's right where he's been running, Larry. Now watch him. He'll go down on that apron. He's got a lot of grip down there, and he's put a slide job on a couple of guys.
And he's got fresher tires. Here he comes up against Logano, but Kyle Busch brings them off turn 4 once again.
Man, Kurt and the 22 car of Logano are banging off each other.
One of the craziest restarts I've ever seen. I'm honestly blown away that Logano blocked that hard over Stewart. And it clearly affected Stewart as Stewart faded from almost the top 3 to well outside the top 10 with that move. But the battle for the lead was far from over, my friends. The last 10 laps of this race is absolutely legendary.
And the freshest tires are Hamlin and Edwards as Logano takes the lead. Can he hold it off the corner?
Can he get up in front of Kyle?
No,
he didn't make it.
Not enough room.
Oh my gosh, that was so close. Falls back in line, loses momentum, and here comes Hamlin.
Best race ever at California Speedway. Kyle Busch trying to hold off his teammate Denny Hamlin.
Oh yeah, he's
Joey Logano up high. Logano with a big steam run, and he almost turned Hamlin around. Oh my goodness!
What a move!
And the fans go wild.
And he'll clear Kyle Busch that time.
Have you ever?
No, I've never. But I tell you, I don't think that battle between the 11 and 22, I think we're getting ready to see something, boys.
I doubt this is over with 5 laps to go.
We're getting ready to see something.
And these fans know it. Nobody is sitting down.
My gosh, could the racing get any better at Auto Club Speedway? This was when the Speedway was at peak performance, when the track actually produced some amazing racing. I don't think these days are behind us, but my gosh, we had never seen racing this phenomenal at the Speedway. In the 25 years that I've gone to Auto Club Speedway, I can honestly say This was the best race, especially in the closing laps, that I've ever seen at this speedway, and hands down, it was the best race of 2013 in the Cup Series. But the drama wasn't over. New tires, old tires, and yes, an old rivalry, teammates, Toyota versus Ford, what could go wrong? Oh, buddy, if you only knew the half of it. The 22 started shooting water, meaning that, yeah, that thing was overheating. Would it last the full distance, and was it affecting the performance of that 22 car? The 11 car was clearly on fresher tires and clearly catching Logano, but getting around Joey Logano is certainly not an easy task.
But up front, the little engine that could, steaming along, Joey Logano in his Penske Ford.
And here comes Junior.
Remember Dale Earnhardt Jr., he has fresher tires, just like Carl Edwards in that 99, especially compared to Kyle Busch in the 18.
Joey Logano is starting to gap that 11 car, though, Larry. He's starting to pull away.
He is pulling away, Darrell, but will that engine last
If he
3 more laps?
If he doesn't run out of water, he'll be okay. That's a water heater right there, boys.
Yeah, he beat Denny Hamlin that time by 2.5 tenths.
Yeah, but Hamlin's on the bottom and digging.
And Hamlin's tires are 22 laps fresher than Logano's.
Don't you know Joey Logano he so wants to beat Denny Hamlin in this race.
And don't you know Hamlin is fired up now after those two made contact and Logano got to the front.
I think they'll show each other a lot of respect.
DW said last wordsingly,
I think.
I hope. 2 to go.
2 to go. Oh my gosh. Who would have thought it?
2 to go.
Kyle Busch is 1 second back. Earnhardt 2.5. Carl Edwards is 2 back.
Hamlin is there, boys. He's there. He's stalking him. I believe Hamlin's a skosh better.
It seems like he has a bit of an advantage down in turn 1 and 2.
Teammates last year, rivals this year. Friends, maybe never. But Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin are going to settle this right now.
Well, Hamlin cut him some slack. He had a run on him. Oh, Hamlin. Joey got loose. He got a little sideways off the floor.
There you go.
Hamlin gave him a shot. 1 to go.
Outside, barely. Outside.
Hamlin there. Logano to the bottom, trying to hold his ground.
That's going to be tough, though. But he's been running good on the bottom. If he can just clear Hamlin right there.
No way. He's going to lose his momentum. They're going to touch hard. Are they going to make it?
Neck and neck.
Down the back, side by side.
Kyle Busch closing in.
Watch out for the third place car, Kyle Busch. He's looking.
Hamlin edges ahead. They get it. They touch. They touch, and here comes Kyle. Logano on the wall. Hamlin spins down the racetrack, and Kyle Busch wins in California.
I thought they'd be nice to each other. They weren't. Hard impact on the 11 car, head on. I don't like the looks of that.
Hard hit to the inside wall for Hamlin. A bounce off the outside wall for Logano, and it ends in a shower of sparks.
I am not surprised. I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but I'm not surprised.
the 11 car and the 22 tangoed, and as they were racing side by side, the 18 found a gear and passed them both on the high side before they even started wrecking. All we saw from pit road was the 18 car coming out of nowhere, followed by the 88, thinking out loud, wait, did the leaders just... And then we would look down and see the television broadcast of those two cars spinning off of 4. Kyle Busch had taken the checkered flag at that point, so we started running into victory lane. The crowd was going absolutely nuts, absolutely bonkers. I haven't heard a crowd go that crazy ever. As Kyle Busch did burnouts at the start-finish line, first responders attended to Denny Hamlin, who went so hard into the wall head-on, with no safer barrier in that area of the track. Hamlin was hurt, and Hamlin was hurt bad. We didn't know it at the time, but Denny Hamlin would need to be airlifted to Loma Linda University for further evaluation, where he would spend the night in the hospital. Joey Logano, frustrated and dejected, drove backwards down pit road entrance and got to his pit stall. Tony Stewart came after him immediately. We were standing just outside Victory Lane when all of a sudden we heard the crowd roar. We all assumed at the time that it was Denny Hamlin getting out of his car, but instead, it was this incident.
First win here for Joe Gibbs Racing. And boy, Tony Stewart is after Logano.
Well, I did see some punches thrown today. You can't say they're just pushing each other. Not sure what went on between Stewart and Logano.
Now, Stewart could have been reacting to the restart, where Logano came way down the track to block Tony, who had a run on the inside. Let's take a look at that.
Let's see what happens here. This is what Tony is upset about, I guess.
No question.
Joey blocked him, cut him off right there, and I'm sure that's what Tony. You know, quite honestly, it's a restart for heaven's sake. I mean, nobody did anything wrong. You know, Joey did nothing wrong.
And that's Stewart going for the win, and it's Logano trying to go as low as he can go.
Come on, boys, we're racing.
And Denny Hamlin has been helped into the ambulance after a hard crash into the inside wall at the conclusion of this race.
I was due to be on ARN in just moments as soon as I got back to the media center at the Speedway. So I quickly interviewed the race winner Kyle Busch, then ran over to Tony Stewart's hauler. I knew Stewart would be in the hauler, and I knew I could talk to him because I had already seen the replays on the monitors of what had happened between him and Logano, and I wanted to hear what Tony Stewart had to say. Years of experience and knowing Tony, I knew Tony absolutely had a right to be furious at Logano, and I knew Tony was going to give me a better soundbite than Logano. So I ran over to his hauler, where I grabbed this interview.
He still takes the responsibility on himself. I mean, he has that right. He has the choice to do that. I mean, he's in control of his car, but if he ever turns down a cross in front of me again, I don't care what lap it is, he won't make it through the other end of it. If I didn't hit the chip, he wouldn't have made it through turn one to begin with. So, you know, I'm tired of these guys doing that stuff, and especially out of a kid that's been griping about everybody else, and then he does that the next week. I mean, he's sent Denny to the hospital and screwed our day up. So, you know, he's talked the talk, but he hasn't walked the walk yet. He's always got his crew guys walking the walk for him.
He said he wants to call you this week. Will you accept that phone call?
Hell no. If he wants to talk about it, we'll talk about it. So after he threw the water bottle at me like a little girl, we'll go at it now. I'm not going to listen. I got nothing. I don't care what he has to say. It's just words right now. Actions speak louder than words.
Yes, that's my microphone that says pit pass. Yes, that's my arm. Yes, I was leaning over 2 sets of tires, essentially on my belly, in order to get this audio. And yes, I pulled something in my shoulder. But we got the quote from Stewart, and I quickly ran back to the media center, where one of my colleagues grabbed me by the arm and told me he's being airlifted to Loma Linda. My heart immediately sank, and I ran into the studio, got on the air, and tried to describe everything that we had just seen. I was honestly dumbfounded. On one hand, we had just seen the greatest racing Southern California has ever seen, and that NASCAR would see all season long. On the other hand, 2 drivers fought on pit road, and one was on the way to the hospital. To say it was bittersweet is an understatement. And to be honest, I have no idea how Kyle Busch and Joe Gibbs Racing managed to do all of the interviews after the race, all while knowing that one of their drivers was being airlifted to a local hospital. Most of us stayed in the media center late that night. I was on the air until about 8 p.m. local time, 3 hours after the race had concluded. There was only about 15 of us in the media center, and thank you to the staff at Auto Club Speedway who had the wherewithal to actually order us dinner. All of us in the media center were desperately trying to get word on Denny Hamlin. We were calling Loma Linda, we were calling Joe Gibbs Racing, we were calling his crew chief, we were calling members of his crew, we were calling NASCAR, trying to get word, positive word, on Denny Hamlin. I was on the air, and while we were in commercial break, I kept calling the hospital and calling people around the room. I would duck my head out into the media center bullpen and see if anybody had any update. I was checking social media, checking websites, nothing. Finally, we got in touch with someone at the hospital confirming that Hamlin was awake, alert, with minor injuries, but couldn't say more than that. But we found out he was staying overnight just for precautionary reasons, and that likely he would be discharged in a day or 2. Denny Hamlin would miss 4 races in the 2013 season, effectively ending his championship run. Thanks to Tony Stewart, Joey Logano was forever branded as the spoiled rich kid who really didn't appreciate the cars or his fellow drivers, and it's a reputation that Logano still holds even in 2022. Logano would go on to win at Michigan that August and inevitably finish 8th in the point standings. Joey Logano would go on to win a championship and a 500. Jimmy Johnson won the title in 2013, and Denny Hamlin would finish 23rd after sitting out several races. But Hamlin's season would end on a high note, capping off with a victory at Homestead in November. Hamlin is still looking for his elusive championship, but went on to win several Daytona 500s. Tony Stewart would end up getting a win at Dover that season, but unfortunately missed the final 15 races of the season due to a severe leg fracture after a dirt race in Iowa, and inevitably finished a very dismal 29th in the point standings. Hands down, the 2013 Auto Club 400 was the craziest race that I personally have ever been to and got a chance to work. I was tired as a dog, but I honestly was very proud of everybody that I worked with that night, and everybody in the media center and with NASCAR, for taking care of the media members, for getting the story out, and for making sure that all of the drivers, including Denny Hamlin, were well taken care of after that race. And yes, I'll forever remember it for this audio clip from Tony Stewart.
What angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little. I'm gonna bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
But to me, this race will always stand out as literally the best race at Auto Club Speedway, with some of the most phenomenal racing we've ever seen on a racetrack and in the Cup Series. Hands down, it was the best race of 2013, and it set up Auto Club Speedway as the racer's track that it is today. What does the future hold for Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California? Honestly, we don't know. At the time of the recording of this video, NASCAR isn't even sure. NASCAR had plans before COVID to tear up the track and turn it into a half-mile high bank track that is a hybrid between Bristol Motor Speedway and Martinsville, but thanks to COVID and the uncertainty of what NASCAR wants to do in the Southern California area with the Coliseum and other events happening here, NASCAR is simply not sure if they want to keep the 2-mile track as is, turn it into a super speedway, or turn it into a short track. NASCAR is still considering the options, and what happens this weekend in 2022 might determine what happens to the Speedway moving forward. No matter what, Auto Club Speedway will always be at its peak in 2013 to me. In the 25-year history of the Speedway, this race stands out as the best race at Auto Club Speedway ever. But now I'm going to turn this over to you. What do you think of the 2013 Auto Club 400? And in the 25-year history of the Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, what do you think is the best race ever at the track? And on that note, what's the best race you personally have ever attended? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're there, make sure that you mash that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. It truly helps us out so much. Don't forget to give a listen to the Shifting Gears podcast on AmericanRacingNetwork.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're at it, make sure that you give me a follow over on my social media accounts at HeyAlanBailey. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Alan Bailey, and we'll see you at the track.